month of February. Now, economic risk from transition to clean energy. Now, according to a study, India's financial sector is highly exposed to risk of economic transition from fossil fuel to clean energy. Now, loans and bonds to fossil fuel sector. 60% of the lending to the mining sector was for oil and gas extraction. 20% of the manufacturing sector debt is for petroleum refining and related industries. Now, India's financial sector is highly exposed to the activities related to fossil fuel. Financial institution transition to clean energy. Now, India's financial institution lack expertise to advise on transition from fossil fuel to clean energy. Example, only 4 of the 10 major financial institutions surveyed collect information on environmental, social, and governance risks. And these firms do not systematically incorporate that data into financial planning. High carbon industries heavily indebted. Now, high carbon industries, which are power generation, chemicals, iron, steel, and aviation, account for 10% of the outstanding debt to Indian financial institutions. However, these industries are also heavily indebted and therefore have less financial capacity to respond to shocks and stress. Less lending to renewables. The financial decisions of Indian banks and institutional investors are locking the country into a more polluting, more expensive energy supply. Example, only 17.5% of bank lending to the power sector has been to pure play renewables. India has much higher electricity from carbon sources than the world average, despite its vast potential for cheap solar, wind, and small hydropowers. Moving on to light pollution, artificial sky glow. According to a study, light pollution is growing rapidly. The number of stars visible to naked eyes in the light sky has reduced by more than half over the last 2 decades. Now, the human eye should be able to perceive several thousands of stars on a clear, dark night, but the growing artificial brightness at night has reduced the visibility. As sky brightens up with artificial light, the fainter objects are not visible to naked human eye. Over the past 10 years, the sky has brightened up by 9.6%. A large number of stars that were once visible are no longer visible. Now, consequences of artificial glow. Lit beaches deters sea turtles from coming ashore to nest. Sky glow keeps trees from sensing seasonal variations. Young burrow nesting seabirds don't take flight unless the nesting site becomes dark. Now, clownfish's eggs don't hatch when exposed to artificial light at night, killing the offsprings. Sky glow interferes with multiple aspects of insect life and allows insect predators to hunt for longer. Disrupting the circadian rhythm, artificial light at night can hamper the production of melatonin, an influential hormone in the human body which affects sleep, mood, and cognition. So it has been rated up to 9 divisions. 9, 8, and 9 would be considered the city or liner sky city lights, and one would be the excellent dark sky sites. So 9 is worse, and 1 is the best. Moving on to clean energy transition, observation in economic survey of 2022-23. According to economic survey of 2022-23, India is leading one of the most ambitious clean energy transition in the world. Relating to India's forest cover, India ranks third globally with respect to net gains in average annual forest area between 2010 and 2020. This has been possible due to policies and initiatives like Green India Mission, Compensatory Afforestation Fund Management, and Planning Authority, that is CAMPA, etc. Now, Arunachal Pradesh has the maximum carbon stock in forest, and Jammu and Kashmir contributes the maximum per hectare carbon stock. Moving on to preservation of ecosystem, India now has 75 Ramsar sites for wetland. Mangroves cover increased by 364 square kilometers in 2021 as a result of various regulatory and promotional measures. Transition to renewable energy between 2014 and 2021, total investment in renewables stood at 78.1 billion in India. The likely installed capacity by the end of 2029-30 is expected to be more than 800 gigawatts, of which non-fossil sources would contribute more than 500 gigawatt, resulting in a decline of average emission rate of around 29% by 2029-30 compared to 2014-15. Now, National Green Hydrogen Mission, its aim is to make India energy independent and decarbonize the critical sectors. It would result in a reduction of 3.6 gigatons of carbon dioxide emissions by 2050. Now, Finance for Sustainable Development, Green Bonds, Green Finance Working Committee. So, green bonds, the issuance of sovereign green bonds will help the government tap the requisite finance from potential investors for deployment in public sector projects aimed at reducing carbon intensity of the economy. A Green Finance Working Committee has been set up to oversee and validate key decisions on issuance of sovereign green bonds. Business Responsibility and Sustainability Report. Now, SEBI has issued a sustainability report requirement under BRSR, BSR. Business Responsibility and Sustainability Report were made mandatory for the top 1,000 listed entities by market capitalization from 2022-23. Now, India at COP27. India has updated its nationally determined contributions and made them more ambitious. Now, India's long-term low carbon development strategy, that is LT leads, focuses on rational utilization of national resources with due regard to energy security. The survey also highlights the achievement in doubling the population of tigers in 2018, 4 years before the targeted year 2022. Now, the population of Asiatic lions have also seen a steady increase with population of 674 individuals in 2020 as compared to 523 lions in 2015. Moving on to green initiatives in the Union Budget of 2023-24. Now, the Union Budget has launched several initiatives for green transition. Green growth has been listed as one of the seven priorities of the Union Budget of 2023-24. Regarding green hydrogen, an outlay of 19,700 crores has been announced for National Green Hydrogen Mission. The target of the mission is annual production of 500 million metric tons of green hydrogen by 2030. Now, the budget has provided 35,000 crore rupees for priority capital investment towards energy transition, net zero objective, and energy security. Renewable energy transmission line project. Now, the interstate transmission system for evacuation and grid integration of 13 gigawatt renewable energy from Ladakh will be constructed with an investment of 20,700 crores, including central support of 8,300 crores. Now, regarding battery storage, to spur sustainable development, the budget announced viability gap funding for battery energy storage system with capacity of 4,000 megawatt hours. Now, green credit program. In order to encourage behavioral change, a green credit program will be notified under Environment Protection Act of 1986. This program will incentivize environmentally sustainable and responsive actions by companies, individuals, and local bodies and help mobilize additional resources from such activities. Regarding vehicle replacements, funds have been allocated for vehicle scrapping policy mentioned in budget 2021-22. States will also be supported in replacing old vehicles and state ambulances. Moving on to risk of glacial lake outburst floods in India. According to a study, 3 million Indians live in areas where glacial lake outburst floods can happen at any time. Now, retreating glaciers result in a formation of lakes at their tip. These lakes are called proglacial lakes. These lakes are often bound by sediments, boulders, and moraines. If the boundaries of these lakes are breached, the downstream areas get flooded. This is known as glacial lake outburst flood. They involve sudden release of water in large quantities. They tend to be rapid events lasting few hours and can last few days sometimes. So the key findings of the report says that the study says that rapid deglaciation over the last 20 years has led to the growth of many large glacial lakes. Majority of the globally exposed population to glacial lakes live in the region of high mountain Asia. India, Peru, China, Pakistan account for more than 50% of the globally exposed population. Risk is dependent on number of people exposed and not solely on the size of the glacial lakes. Greenland with large number of glacial lakes is at low risk due to its scarce population. Now, State of India's Environment Report 2020 by Center for Science and Environment has noted a 40% increase in water spread area in India, China, Nepal, posing a huge threat to seven Indian states and union territories. Now, these are Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh, Himachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Assam, Bihar, and Arunachal Pradesh. Steps required. There is insufficient time to warn downstream population and take effective actions as glacial lake outburst floods events are sudden and rapid. Hence, improvements are urgently needed in designing early warning systems alongside evacuation drills and other forms of community outreach to enable more rapid warnings and emergency action in these highly exposed areas. That'll be it.